refried beans, sour cream, chili con carne, tacos, burritos, taquitos. Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of the Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 13, Episode 6, Rumors. Not a lot happens in this episode, but we get a lot of information. The show opens at Shannon's house and she's all prepared for her photo shoot for the picture that is going to be on every one of her frozen meals. Not too much pressure there, right? Emily, Kelly, and Tamra come over for lunch after the shoot. So they're sitting and chatting. And Shannon is sharing with them that I guess she went to court for child support and now David won't hire his own attorney. Or I don't know what that's all about. But it is making it harder for her because of that. She's just saying how, David said that she excessively drinks. And apparently he has sent very nasty texts to her, you gonna get off the couch today, you lazy cow, and you fat bitch, I don't know, stuff like that. Anyway, Shannon's lawyer is submitting all those texts in court, so she said, I don't think I'm gonna have to deal with him for too much longer. We cut over to Vicky, who is now doing a podcast or something. She's at a radio station with Michael and Steve. I don't know why Steve is there, but she's there also with her business partner, Ollie, who has convinced her to branch out and have Koto insurance companies all across the universe. I don't know, across the country? I don't know. I have no doubt in my mind that Vicky Gunvalson will run the universe at some point in time, so this is just the beginning. So when we cut back to the lunch at Shannon's house, Shannon asks Emily, so how long did the poker party go? And Emily said, oh, not long after you guys left, till my husband kicked out Gina, basically. And everyone was like, what? So Emily retells the story about how Jeana, I guess, was being loud by the front door and Shane yelled down from the balcony upstairs, get that chick out of my house. And Emily's kind of laughing about it, but nobody else is laughing. And Shannon goes, oh, what did Jeana do? And Emily goes, she was respectful and she apologized. And then she texted me later when she got home. She apologized again and she wanted to apologize to my husband. And I said, give it a couple of days. Because what she did was so bad to Shane. I mean, if the main thing she did wrong was wake up the kids, then Emily should have been mad at her too. Why does she have to apologize to Shane? I don't get that. Now we see Vicky and Kelly in the car together, and they're heading to Huntington Beach for happy hour, and I guess they're meeting all of the other ladies there. So the two of them are in the car, and Vicky was not at Shannon's house for that lunch, so Kelly is filling Vicky in on the conversation about Shane kicking Gina out of the house. And Vicky, like the other ladies, was kind of shocked. And Kelly said, when I was having a party with my friends, if Michael did that, I'd be yelling at him. Vicky goes, did Emily yell at him? Kelly goes, no. And that's probably why they're still married. Now we see Gina and Emily in a car together, and they're heading to the same restaurant. They're having their conversation about it. First, they're having a conversation about how, I know, you having toddlers the same age as my kids, I thought, oh, she's my best friend. And it's all really sweet small talk until Gina brings up the thing with her and Shane. She starts off by saying, I was talking to Tamra last night. And I'm thinking, stop right there, girl. Say no more. The queen of stirring the pot was in your ear last night? Okay, got it. I know exactly where this is going. So Gina starts, and her interpretation of what you said, why don't you just tell me what you said to the girls? Was it something about me making a scene at the front door when I was leaving? Did I behave inappropriately on the way out? And Emily goes, no. But now we see some footage of Tamra over at Gina's house the night before. And this is actually the first time that we are getting to hear Gina's side of the story, because twice now we've heard Emily. We saw last week, we saw the scene of Emily and Shane talking about it. And then earlier we saw Emily telling the ladies about it. So this is the first time we're getting Gina's version. And I gotta tell you something. This version makes more sense to me. Gina says she basically told Emily, it's fine, let's just let it go, because she felt like Emily was already very embarrassed by her husband. And Gina didn't want to make it worse. Okay, that's quite a bit different than Gina overly apologetic and apologizing again when she got home and wanting to apologize to Shane, right? So now in the car with Emily, Gina says, your husband could have handled it a lot more gracefully. And Emily's like, yeah, you're right, yes. And she said, did I do something that the other women didn't do? Emily goes, no. And she said, so, really, your husband owes me an apology. Not that I'm asking for one or that I want one. Emily laughs and goes, good, because have you met my husband? Unfortunately, we all have. They seem like they're kind of done with it. Gina doesn't want to discuss it anymore. She wants to just move past it, and she really doesn't have a beef with Emily anyway. So she's like, the only reason I brought it up was because Tamra mentioned something, but I don't feel like we need to talk about it ever again. And Emily's like, okay, they're good. And then to the confession cam, Emily says Shane would never apologize. He does not think he did anything wrong. Okay. Now we cut back to the car with Vicky and Kelly and their conversation, and they are not done talking about it. Vicky said, I've never met her husband. Has Gina? And Kelly said, the husband? No, I don't think so. I've never met him either. He's Mormon though. Vicky goes, he's Mormon? Is she Mormon? And Kelly goes, no. And Vicky goes, how does that work? Kelly, I know. And Vicky goes, I would think he would want her to be Mormon. The two of them are joking about how, marriage is hard enough, yet doing it without drinking, and they're laughing. And Vicky said, yeah, and I don't think they gamble either. And she had this poker party. Not that anybody was really gambling that night, were they? But this does bring up an interesting point. His mom and his sister were there. I don't know if his mom was drinking, but I do think his sister was. I could be wrong. I'm curious now about where this Mormonism comes in for Shane. How he got involved with it. Does it have anything to do with his family, or was it like maybe his ex-wife's family? I don't know, but I am kind of curious. And also the fact that he doesn't care if Emily is, I think is sort of interesting. All right, so now everybody's showing up at the restaurant. Shannon just came from court and she said, you know what, guys? I looked across and I looked at David, and he didn't see me, but I was looking at him, and for the first time I thought, I feel nothing. Okay. We've all heard this before, Shannon. I don't believe it for a second, because if you felt nothing, we wouldn't all be in such pain right now listening to you crying about him. But, I wish she felt nothing. I hope for the best for her, but I do think it was kind of funny. She tries so hard to make herself feel these positive things, God bless her. I guess Emily had, in a previous conversation, had said to her that when you feel indifferent, that's when you're ready to date. And everyone's like, oh, I think you're ready to date. Yeah, I do too. I think she's ready to date. And she's kind of blushing. I guess, maybe. Well, that was the perfect segue for Vicky and Tamra, because we now get to see this little scene that, 6 days ago, the two of them were in contact with a matchmaker for Shannon. So Tamra said, you are ready to date. What do you think about seeing a matchmaker today? What? Shannon's like, today? Yeah, not only today, right now, because the matchmaker's at the restaurant. She shows up at the table with her assistant. I don't know who the other lady was. But the two of them go over to like a couch area and they sit down with Shannon and Tamra. Tamra shouldn't have been there because the matchmaker wants to get to know Shannon to figure out what kind of a person she is and what she's looking for in a relationship. So Shannon starts off with saying, well, I'm just a one man kind of a woman, and I moved to Orange County thinking I was going to push myself to date a bunch of people, and that's when I met my husband David. We were married for 17 years and together for 20, and Tamra can't take another second of it. So, sorry, I'm gonna have to butt in here, but he just threw his wedding ring at his daughter and told her to give it to Shannon, and he moved out and in with another woman. So that's where we're at right now. And Shannon's like, well, yeah, that did happen. And she said, okay, so I'm not the type of person, like if I meet somebody in a bar, I'm going to make out with him that night. I want to get to know him first. And the matchmaker said, okay, so you want to make a connection with somebody. She said, yes, Tamra, but she loves sex. Thanks, Tamra. And then Tamra, for some reason, felt like she needed to tell the matchmaker that David had a very tiny penis. Okay? I don't know how that information is helpful to the matchmaker unless Shannon is specifically looking for men with very tiny penises. Is Tamra trying to say that that's Shannon's type? Otherwise, I think Tamra just wanted to gossip. I will say this, Tamra was being the most Tamra that she has been in a long time. Anyway, it ended with Shannon being kind of excited about the prospect of dating somebody. So we'll see what the matchmaker comes up with. When Tamra and Shannon come back to the table now where the rest of the ladies are, Vicky says she doesn't feel well and she ends up leaving. To be fair, when they first got to the restaurant, she did say she wasn't feeling well and she ordered a hot toddy. But anyway, so she leaves. And then right after that, Emily says, yeah, she's looking at her watch. I really have to get going too, because Shane is home with the kids and I shouldn't leave him for too long. And everyone's like, what the? Gina, I think, came to her rescue and really Shane's rescue by saying, yeah, Shane, he was working all day. And Emily said, yeah, and then he left work early so that I could come here. And so, I'm looking at the clock. I'm thinking I should probably head back. Okay, so they say goodbye to her. And as soon as she leaves, the conversation turns, of course, to Gina getting kicked out of the party by Shane. And Gina said, listen, we're good now. We talked about it on the way over, and it wasn't directed at me personally. And all the other ladies are like, well, Tamra goes, we were all gone. You were the only one there. Of course it was directed at you. And Kelly said, she told us it was personalized toward you because he said you were throwing the F-bomb around and being really loud. And Shannon goes, yeah, get her out of my house. That was you he was talking about. So Gina said, well, that's not exactly how it happened. And to the confession camp, she says Emily was very embarrassed and she kept saying, I'm sorry my husband is such a dick. Okay, I don't know if she said that or not, but like I said, this is the first time we're hearing Gina talk about it. And side note, how long has this conversation been going on? It's dark out now. When they got to that restaurant, the sun was in their eyes. So Shannon feels the need to interject with a little glimpse into how crappy her marriage was by telling us that if it were her, she also would have left early to relieve her husband from taking care of the kids. Because if he was mad at her for what her friends did at the party the night before, and then the next day she's going out for drinks with them and he's got to come home and watch the kids, she too would have made sure to be home on time because he's going to let me have it when I get home. To the confession cam, Gina said, Shannon should know better than to be making these similarities between her atrocious husband and Emily's husband. That's going to be taken seriously, and that's going to hurt Emily's feelings. Sure enough, Tamara says to Shannon, so you're saying she's in a bad marriage? Good job, Tamara. Way to stir the pot. To which Shannon replied, no, I don't know that. But all anybody's going to take from that conversation, trust me, is that Shannon thinks that Emily is in a bad marriage. Next, Vicky and Tamara are getting their eyebrows microbladed. This is something that I've always wanted to do because I have very light eyebrows too, but it's expensive and I think you have to keep going back. You have to go back 2 or 3 times. And I also think there's some sort of a maintenance thing involved where you have to keep going back and redoing it a little bit. It's kind of like tattooing, but it's, they make all those tiny little cuts and then inject the dye. So I don't know. I don't think it's so permanent. And like I said, it's really expensive, but I'm slightly jealous. Although Tamara goes first and it looks like it hurts. Vicky's even leaning forward going, is that blood? Have any of you guys had it done? Let me know in the comments. Normally, these Bravo scenes where the ladies are having a procedure done are just filler, and I could do without them, particularly the colonics. But this one is a pretty good scene because we are learning a lot about the 2 new ladies. First, Tamara fills in Vicky about what she missed because she left the dinner early. The way Tamara sums it up is that the conversation turned to whether Emily's husband is nice to her or not. Okay, I mean, that's a little overgeneralizing, but... So Vicky said, oh, does he yell at her? And Tamara said, well, he yelled at Gina. And then Tamara kind of throws Gina under the bus a little bit about her parenting, because she then tells her, I was over at her house and the kids are wild. We get to see a little scene of it again. Bravo, why did we not see the whole scene of Tamara over at Gina's house? Because I'm telling you, a lot happened. This is the second time we're referring to it. Anyway, they're on the couch talking while the 2 boys are jumping all over Gina and jumping over the back of the couch and throwing toys at Gina's head, and yeah, it's rough. But, a mom knows better than to criticize another mom's parenting. But she does say, I feel bad for her because she's basically raising them alone all week. And Vicky goes, oh yeah, he doesn't live with her. What is that story? And I'm thinking, yeah, what is that story? We go back to footage that I hadn't seen before. I don't know why it was in the Bravo vault because this stuff should have been front and center. It is gold. Tamara asks Gina, so do you ever go to his apartment during the week just to hang out with him? And she said, no, I've never been there. Now, remember, these kids aren't even in school yet, so I don't know why she couldn't spend a couple days there, But then she says, I've never even seen it. But wait, there's more. Then she says, I don't even know where it is. What? Sweetie, you don't know where your husband's apartment is. I can't. That's incredulous to me. As if the other stuff isn't hard to swallow. Why do you live here? If his job is in LA, why don't you live with him there? Or if you guys can maintain 2 households, why don't you spend 1 week on, 1 week off? Something like that. Why aren't you with him more? If you can even slightly understand their living arrangement, then I don't know how you can get past the fact that she's never seen the apartment pictures or anything. She didn't help him find it. Okay, let's say you can wrap your mind around that part. Can any one of you wrap your minds around the fact that She doesn't know where he lives. She doesn't know where it is. She doesn't know the address. I can't. What if there was an emergency? I just can't. I know what you guys are thinking. They're divorcing, and they probably already knew they were divorcing before the show started. He probably got the apartment because they were separated. Okay, all right. You're probably right. All that's probably true. I just like to play devil's advocate because Bravo wants us to believe that they aren't getting a divorce. We're not supposed to even know that yet. So how do they expect us to buy all this, you know? I'm intrigued by all that. Also, side note, what is happening here? The whole time this conversation is going on, Gina's got her head poked through a curtain like she's giving Tamara a puppet show. Anyway, back to the microblading. Vicky, says, wow, that's bizarre. And then, Vicky and Tamara are both like, well, whatever works for somebody's marriage, I guess. You can't question it. No, you can question it. I am questioning it. I'm questioning it right now. Gina's not even from Orange County. She's from New York. Like, if she were surrounded by family and friends she grew up with that could help her with the kids, even that would make more sense as to why she lives alone in Orange County when her husband's job is in LA. Okay, now it's Vicky's turn to have the microblading done. And we are getting a lot of information during this eyebrow appointment. Like I said, this is one of the better filler scenes, if you want to call it that. So now Emily is under the microscope. And they're talking again about her marriage. And Emily said that she worked for him for 3 years while he was married. And then as soon as he got divorced, he asked her to marry him. And Tamara goes, yeah, through text. And Vicky goes, yeah. Could you ever marry someone that you never dated? It's funny, at the beginning when Emily told her story and she said, we were friends for 3 years and then he texted her on Google Chat and asked her to marry him. And she's like, all right, I have nothing better to do. I thought she was just kind of funny and sort of kidding. Well, one thing I didn't realize was the 3 years that she was friends with him, he was married to somebody else. Yeah, didn't know that. I knew he had been married previously, but I thought maybe a little time had gone by in between. No. So both of the new girls have some bizarre situations going on there. But I gotta tell you, I like them. I think I still like both of them. It's their husbands that are making things weird for me. Next, we have Kelly on her date with the milkman. First impressions, he's cute. I'm not sure I love the way he's dressed. I don't know if it's maybe too casual. Either that or Kelly is too overdressed, but the two don't look like they go together that well. He's got shorts on. I mean, it's not like a deal breaker. It's just, I don't love it. So his name is Frank, and I don't know how old he is, but Kelly can't seem to get the age thing right. He acts like he's about 18. They sit down at the bar. He orders a Diet Coke, and Kelly orders tequila straight up. And he's like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, this is how I like to drink it. And he kind of does a face like, ugh. Like he no way could handle that. He asks her, so how's your dating life going? And she tells him about the spine doctor. And she's like, but that's, he's 80. And he goes, he's 80? And she's like, well, something like that. Okay. We remember him because they were making out at the table. He wasn't 80, but like I said, Kelly can't seem to get the age thing right. Is she in her early 40s? I don't even know. Maybe she's in her late 30s. How about somebody that's about your age? How about that? I don't know if he's like a surfer dude. He's from New York, so I guess not, but he has that sort of attitude, like a little bit like he's been smoking weed. Now, I'm not saying he was smoking weed, but let's just say that if he were, it would explain this next scene where he goes on to name different Mexican foods for about 15 minutes straight. At the end, Kelly's like, Yeah, okay. You don't even have to be in her head to know that she's like rethinking her life choices. Next, we see Shannon and Archie. Archie's cute. He's a sweet dog. And she gets up to get ready because she has to go to court that day. So she's meeting her attorney first, and they meet at this little coffee shop and they're talking. And he said the interesting thing is that David still wants to pay for everything, but he doesn't want to give you the money to pay for it. And Shannon said, I think that's just him wanting to still have control. And he agreed, of course, because why else would David want to be in charge of like paying all Shannon's bills? If it isn't so that he could either question her on everything or still control in some way, control what she's spending on stuff, or even so that he can know what she's spending stuff on, maybe. Anyway, they go to the courthouse and then we see them coming out 3 hours later, and her attorney says congratulations to her. And she gets in the car and she calls Tamara right away. Tamara's like, how'd it go? And she said, it didn't go at all the way I thought it was going to. I'm shaken up and I have this uneasy feeling. And it's like she's gonna start crying, and I'm thinking, just pull over before you kill somebody. But she ends up telling Tamara that the judge ordered David to pay her $30,000 a month. Well, she was out in the hall with her attorney and they were talking about it. David came around the corner and just went off on her and Ben, her attorney. And Ben ended up screaming for the bailiff to come. They were already talking about lowering it because Shannon said she didn't need that much, I guess. So when they went back in the courtroom, she said she looked over and David was just shaking with anger. And anyway, they lowered it to $22,500, and Shannon said because that's what she needed at that point. Honestly, we really need to stop talking about David now. Shannon, this season should be about you moving on, dating. I hope that the rest of the season you can get there, you can move on and have fun, so. And that's about where this episode ends. So when I was looking for viewer comments, one thing I noticed is that you guys have some very strong opinions about the men of the Real Housewives of Orange County. I'm picking this comment from Natty Bats. I'm calling you Natty. It's N-A-T-Y. Is it Natty or Natty? I'm calling you Natty because I feel like it's short for Natalie. I could totally be wrong, but anyway, hi Natty. I picked yours for two reasons. One, because this is the second week in a row that you were my first commenter. So thank you for that. I love it. And two, because you kind of sum up what I feel like a lot of you guys are thinking about these men. So let me just read it. I really hope that Shannon is crying over the loss of the illusion because David is the snake in the grass, lowest of the low. He is cringeworthy personified. Recall when David was flirting with Megan before she was an official housewife at Heather's House Foundation hoedown about tequila shots? Yes, I remember. Yuck. I never could stand him or Alexis's soon-to-be ex-husband, not surprised, Jim. The nerd chauvinist. And lastly, who can forget the brown-nosing, non-alimony paying Slade? These ladies really have slim pickings in the OC. Sad. Then she goes on to talk about Shannon, but I hear ya. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that I think it's kind of slim pickings with the men in many of these franchises. I would say the only exception to that is Beverly Hills. Because those husbands, like Harry Hamlin and Mauricio, are cute and they seem present. Ken is fine. Yeah. Tom Girardi, I think, is sweet. I think he loves her and I think he's sweet. So there's some good luck there with the men, but yeah, not so much in the OC. I would have to agree with you wholeheartedly on the OC men. Very slim pickings, which also then makes me feel like the matchmaker has her work cut out for her. If she's trying to fix Shannon up with somebody nice, in the OC? I don't know. Anyway, all right, that was fun. Thank you, Natty, for your question. I appreciate it. And to all of you, I ask that you please subscribe if you haven't already, and please consider giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it. As always, please leave a comment down below so that we can talk about it, maybe on the air. All right, I hope to see you next Monday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of the Real Housewives of Orange County. Bye-bye.